What you're about to see is a real-life story, taken from the files of the police racket and bunco squads, business protective associations, and similar sources all over the country. It is intended to expose the confidence game, the carefully worked-out frauds by which confidence men take more money each year from the American public than all the bank robbers and thugs with their violence. Tonight's story concerns a group of men who play on the emotions of lonely, unhappy people. People who are easy marks for those who are looking for easy money. I call it the case of the dancing lady. It was first brought to my attention when Timothy Morgan came to my office.
Well, I may be on the wrong track. It's all so strange, and I don't have any proof.
Suppose you tell me about it, huh?
Yeah. Well, Mary and I had been going around together for several years. She was my assistant at the Acme Company. And, well, we were going to get married.
For several years you were going to get married?
I probably don't look it, but I guess I'm what you'd call a mother's boy. I guess that's always been the trouble. At least it was the start of Mary's trouble. It all began about 6 months ago. As I told you, she worked as my assistant at the company where I'm employed.
Sing all you want to, honey. You're not fooling anybody.
I don't know what you mean.
Never kiss a boss before a frosted door. The shadows, you know. Oh, what are you blushing about? Kissing's fun.
Mabel, you proposed.
No. Oh, gee, that's great, honey. I never thought Mom's boy would... Well, I mean, when do you sign the papers?
Any day now. Right after lunch, we're going over to the travel agency. Mabel, do you know of any good place for a honeymoon?
Are you naive? Any old place is a good place for a honeymoon.
Are you picking Mary up now, Timothy?
Oh, she's going to meet me here. She's visiting an aunt in the neighborhood.
I see. Going to a movie?
Yeah, probably. Maybe for a drive. Lots of things to do. Look, Mother. Mary and I have been going together for over 3 years.
Timothy, I'm all right. I want you to be very happy.
But you don't look very happy right now. Mary's a wonderful girl, Mother. You know the old saying, you won't be losing a son, you'll be gaining a daughter.
Yes, she's very sweet. The upstairs bedroom will fix up very nice, Timothy.
Well, we've been talking about that, Mother, and Mary feels, and I feel the same way, that we probably ought to have a place of our own. There's a new apartment building over on State Street. And...
You're not moving out.
Well, it's just that we feel, you know, just starting out together, that we ought to be, well, alone. We'll visit you often, Mother.
Such a big house, Timothy.
Keep you busy.
For what? For whom?
Good evening, Mrs. Morgan.
Mary.
That woman was selling these flowers down the street again. They're pretty, aren't they?
Very pretty. Thank you, Mary.
Has Tim told you about us?
Yes. Congratulations.
We'd better go, Mary. First show's about ready to start.
Good night.
Well, you're here kind of early this morning. Too excited to sleep?
No. I'm on somebody's mailing list. 2 free dancing lessons.
What's the matter, Mary?
Nothing. What makes you think anything's wrong?
Your face. It's written all over it. Tim? What happened?
Mother trouble. She's not satisfied to have Tim tied to her apron string. She wants both of us.
Oh, that's tough, you know, Biddy.
She wants us to live with her after we have our apartment picked out and everything. Well, it's finished. I'm not going to see him anymore.
Well, maybe you're right, honey. There are other guys.
No, Mabel. There weren't before. I was so lonely before I met Tim. I never want to be that alone again.
But you don't have to be, honey. Look, This isn't a bad idea at all.
The dancing school?
Sure. Why not?
Oh, I couldn't, Mabel.
You could meet a lot of new people and you can forget yourself.
Oh, I couldn't.
Oh, don't be silly. What's the sense in being a wallflower? Where does it get you? How do you suppose I met Harry? Reading True Confessions?
Good evening. Something I can do for you?
Well, this was delivered to me in the mail this morning, and I thought that...
Oh, yes, Miss Temple. We don't have any regular mailing lists, you know. Your name must have been given us by one of our pupils.
I don't think I know any of
It
them.
was Mr. Antoine's idea. You see, we don't advertise in the newspapers. Mr. Antoine insists that we keep things more on an intimate basis.
Oh, I see. Well, really, I'd prefer that, too.
Now, when would you like to start?
Well,
Oh, Mr. Antoine,
Yes?
this is Miss Temple.
Very happy to meet you, Miss Temple.
She'd like to take our trial lesson. When do you think you'll be available? Mr. Antoine always gives the first few lessons personally.
I like to be sure that my pupils get a proper start. Let me see here. Miss Becker isn't here yet, huh?
No.
We'll not wait for her. How about starting now?
I hadn't thought about that.
No time like now, Miss Temple. Shall we? 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you relax, Miss Temple, it's easy. Listen to the music. It'll tell you what to do.
I'm trying to, but it's so new.
I think I'm getting it now. It really seemed difficult at first.
Merely a matter of confidence, Mr. Webster. See, Miss Temple, if you want to badly enough, you can do it.
Yeah, 200 or 300 more lessons should do it for me.
Shall we try it again?
I'd like to.
Elbow in. All right. 1, 2, 3, and 4. 1, 2,
I think I've got it.
4.
Yes, there was something new that had been added to Mary Temple's life. Dancing. And Antoine. And meeting other people that were just as lonely as she was.
What is this, Roseland?
Don't worry, boss. We haven't punched the time clock yet.
I've got to talk to you, Mary. Please, Mary, there's no sense our acting like a couple of kids. I've missed you.
Have you?
Sure I have. I've got a present for you.
What is it?
The lease on our apartment.
Oh, Tim. You feel silly in this costume, but it's fun, isn't it?
Yeah. And they picked the right thing for me.
Enjoying yourself?
Oh, yes. I'm having a wonderful time. Excuse me.
It really is a wonderful party.
I should have talked to you yesterday, Mary. I forgot. Your course expires with the next lesson. I thought you'd like to make arrangements for the new course.
Oh, I'm afraid there won't be any more after that. See, I'm going to be pretty busy doing other things.
Yes, I understand you're getting married next week.
Well, how did you know that?
We like to keep track of our students, know what's happening to them. It's too bad you're not going to be with us. Mr. Antoine's going to be very disappointed. I think our little girl is slipping the noose.
Don't you worry about it.
Hi, honey. How's about a little drink, huh?
You shouldn't be in here. Now, please go away.
Oh, come on. Just a little drink. It'll make you feel happy.
No, Mick! No, don't you dare! Let go of me!
What's going on in here? Webster, you know this is the ladies' dressing room. Come on, get out of here. Come on, get out of here. I'm terribly sorry, Miss Temple. This won't happen again, I assure you.
About a week later, Tim and Mary were married.
Well, Mrs. Morgan, you're home.
It's lovely, Tim. Simply beautiful.
What are you so surprised about? You know every stick of furniture in the place.
I know, but it's the first time it's all together. Gorgeous.
It was a good marriage, an idyllic relationship. Two lonely people who had one another. And now let's see how this case develops. Tim and the little apartment became Mary's full-time job. Yes, until about 2 weeks later.
Miss Temple.
Why, Mr. Antoine.
Or should I say Mrs. Morgan? I thought I'd come by to see how you were getting along.
Well, come on in. Sit down.
Thank you. Very nice apartment. Lovely flowers.
Tim and I went picnicking Sunday and picked them.
We've missed you at the school. I thought you'd come by to say hello now and then.
No, I haven't time for that now. Confidentially, I don't dare learn to dance any better. Tim can scarcely keep up with me now.
That's a shame. And you were such a good pupil. I want you to come back, Mrs. Morgan.
Well, thank you.
Matter of fact, that's why I came over. To enroll you in our new $500 class. I even brought the contract with me. Filled in and ready for your signature.
Well, that's a lot of money, Mr. Antoine. You could hardly expect me even to continue with my dancing lessons. I'm married now.
Certainly, Mrs. Morgan, that's no reason to give up one of the most important of the social graces. I strongly urge you to come back, Mrs. Morgan. You'll like it.
I'm afraid I'm not interested, Mr. Antoine.
Perhaps you'd be interested in this little snapshot.
Who took this? It's horrible.
I thought so, too. So would anybody else that might happen to see it. Oh, you go right ahead, Mrs. Morgan. I still have the negative. I can always make another print in case your husband would like to have one.
Are you trying to blackmail me?
On the contrary, Mrs. Morgan, I merely came by to try to sell you a new $500 course.
If you think I have anything to hide from my husband, you're wrong. I'll tell him what happened. I'll tell him about the party and how that Mr. Webster came into the dressing room. He'll believe me and there won't be a shred of doubt in his mind.
Well, that may be so, Mrs. Morgan. But your husband works for the Acme Company. And he spent a good many years working up to be the general manager. Now, I don't think the owners of the company would like to see the general manager's wife. You think it over, Mrs. Morgan. Oh, incidentally, the new course of instructions includes the tango. It's a very interesting dance.
More dancing lessons? What on earth for? You're not trying to be a professional.
Not that at all, Tim. I just like it. Don't have to be a professional just because I like to dance.
Yeah, but it doesn't make sense.
Well, of course it does. Gives me something to do. I can't stay in the apartment all day long.
All right, honey, if that's the way you feel about it. I guess it's just that $500 seemed like a lot of money to me.
Well, if you resent spending a little money for me to be happy, don't spend it. I'll go to work. I can make the money myself.
Never mind. Tell Mr. Antoine you'll take the lesson.
You're doing fine, Mrs. Morgan.
A new twist on the oldest game of all. And you couldn't blame Mary, not really. She was saving her husband's job, his career. She knew what that job meant to him, how hard he had worked to get it.
Well, that was several months ago. We were wonderfully happy until she started taking those dancing lessons. Then when the first course was finished, it was more lessons. $500, $300, $200.
And she's still going to the school.
Well, she says she is. but I know she isn't. Not often, anyway. And she isn't enjoying it, either. She comes home nervous and unhappy. She's like a different person. We're at each other's throats every minute we're together. They're doing something to her at that school. Something's happening there.
Do you mind if I talk to her about this?
Well, she gets furious anytime I mention it. And she'll be furious that I came to see you about it, but isn't there some way you could investigate it without her knowing about it?
No, I'm afraid not. If there's anything wrong with Mr. Antoine's school, she'll have to tell me about it.
There's nothing wrong, nothing. I just like to dance, that's all. Can't a person want to dance once in a while?
I understand that, Mrs. Morgan. But your husband tells me that you often don't take the lessons you've paid for.
Oh, well, that's not true. What do you want to say things like that for? I don't know why he called the police. There's nothing irregular about it. Nothing. You're just jealous because of all of the time I spend there.
There's no reason to be upset, Mrs. Morgan. I'm here only because your husband is concerned.
Well, he has no reason to be.
Are you sure? Are you sure you're not being forced to take those lessons?
No. No, it's not like that at all.
Well, you see what I mean?
Well, she's not making it any easier for us. I've seen enough to confirm our suspicions about this school. The next few weeks, Antoine's dancing school was under constant surveillance, although Mr. Antoine was hardly aware of it. There were members of my squad there watching carefully for irregularities, anything that might be a clue. I even had Miss Barrett on the job. Antoine didn't know it, but Miss Barrett used to be a professional dancer before she joined the department. I wouldn't be a bit surprised if she could dance rings around him. At the end of a week, we had pictures of everyone remotely connected with the studio, even the elevator boy. And you didn't find anything resembling a lead?
Looks on the up and up, Chief.
No, it can't be. It can't be. Well?
Not one of them in the gallery, Chief. Even the FBI doesn't have their picture. They're clean.
All right, thanks, Ann. I'll want to think about this for a while. I'll call you. Mr. Antoine, if he was a con man, was a pretty good one. There weren't any loopholes in his racket.
How about a bite to eat, Brad?
Yeah, I might just as well. I'm not getting anywhere with this one.
Got a tough one?
Yeah, plenty tough, Joe. It's a racket, but still it isn't a racket.
I'll take homicide. At least when you've got a body, you've got something to work on.
You know him?
This guy looks familiar.
Well, think, Joe, think. Where have you seen him before?
Hold it. Yeah. It had to do with a suicide. Yeah, that's it. A girl had just gotten married. Killed herself a few weeks ago. We found a picture of this guy and the girl together.
What kind of a picture?
You know, one of those compromising poses. The kind you'd use for a shakedown.
And she'd just gotten married.
Sure. Her husband took it pretty hard. The suicide, I mean. We didn't give him the picture.
Thanks, Joe. You may have just solved a case for the Racket Squad.
Hey, I'm an homicide.
Yeah, I know, but could you get that picture for me?
Sure. It's in the files.
Well, let's go, man. Let's go.
Well, hello, Captain.
Hello, Morgan. I'd like to talk to your wife.
Sure, come on in.
Mrs. Morgan, there are a few more things that I'd like to ask you.
Oh, please, I don't have anything to say.
I think that you have. Do you have a copy of that picture, Mrs. Morgan?
What picture?
The one taken with Mr. Webster?
I don't know anything about any picture.
I think we can tell the truth now, Mrs. Morgan.
Hello, Mrs. Morgan. It's good to see you. You haven't been taking your lessons recently.
I want to talk to you.
Certainly. I have quite a large
I
class.
want to talk now.
Of course. Won't you sit down? Well?
I want that negative.
You're nervous, Mrs. Morgan. Why don't you come back when you feel better?
I want it, Antoine, and I won't take no for an answer. I'm tired of being blackmailed.
Blackmail? We only sell dancing lessons here. You're one of our best customers.
Only because you've got that picture.
Please, Mrs. Morgan.
I want to buy it for cash.
Really, now? We like to keep our cooperative students.
I've paid you $1,200. That's enough.
We have students who spend many thousands.
Probably keeping them the same way you've kept me.
Why don't you sign up for a new course, and we'll discuss the matter as soon as it's finished.
No more lessons. I'll give you $1,000 in cash for that negative.
$1,000 worth of lessons?
Anything you want to call it, but I want that negative.
And it's longer than they wish to stay with us. $1,000?
The negative first.
Here you are, Mrs. Morgan. Now, if you'll sign here.
What's that?
Or merely a formal agreement for the instruction. Oh, I'll mark it paid in full.
I won't sign it.
And why not, Mrs. Morgan?
Ask Captain Braddock of the Racket Squad.
I don't understand. Who are you?
If you were listening to Mrs. Morgan, she just told you.
But what do you want?
You, Antoine, for blackmail.
We do nothing but sell dancing lessons here.
With a sideline of photography. Now, we don't want the same thing to happen to Mrs. Morgan that happened to one of your former pupils. You remember Mrs. Charles Martin, don't you? All right, let's go.
Everything will be all right now, honey.
Well, except for one thing, I'll need a little money for some more lessons.
Lesson?
Cooking school.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the case of the dancing lady. Antoine, Webster, and the hostess are now learning what prison life is about. They'll be there for quite a while. No one can blame lonely people for trying to make their lives just a little happier. But if dancing lessons will solve your problems, be sure you pick the reputable schools. The ones that advertise, the ones that your friends know about. If you don't, a Mr. Antoine could happen to you. I'm closing this case now, or rather the courts will, but there'll be others, because that's the way the world is built. Remember, there are people who can slap you on the back with one hand and pick your pocket with the other. And it could happen to you. See Racket Squad next week, same time, same station.